and welcome to Lady Dynamite Creates. I'm Tiffany, and today we're taking a trip back to the 80s for another exciting doll redesign from the Retro Repaint series. It's been a while since I revisited this series, but I'm thrilled to share my unique take on these beloved characters. Sometimes I stay pretty true to the original, just adding my own style, while other times I give them a fresh twist. In a previous video, I redesigned Strawberry Shortcake with a modern Cottagecore style that updated her classic look. Now, I'm excited to give another character from this childhood classic a similar makeover, so let's dive in and get started. Today I'm kicking things off with Briar Beauty from Ever After High as my base doll. Since I used an Ever After High doll for my Strawberry Shortcake redesign, I wanted to keep that continuity going. First up, I give Briar a quick haircut to remove her existing locks that are rather gunky and gross, then a quick dip into hot water to soften the vinyl, making it easier to pop off her head. Once removed, I grab my flathead screwdriver and carefully scrape out all those stubborn leftover hair plugs. Then, with a bit of finesse, I use my pliers to tackle removing the gluey mask from the neck hole. It's a bit messy and, let's be honest, gross, but it's all part of the fun that's transforming a doll into your own creation. I use acetone to remove the old factory paint, creating a fresh blank canvas to work with, and now I'm all set and ready to bring my unique vision to life. For the reroot, I've chosen two gorgeous hair shades from the Doll Planet, Swedish Blonde and Lemon Drop. In her different versions, she's had both white, blonde, and yellow hair, so I decided to do a blend of the two for the perfect mix. To get started, I take small plugs of hair and wrap them around my finger, making it easier to pick them up with the rerooting tool. Then I plunge the hair into the doll's vinyl, repeating this process about 1,000,000 times, or at least it feels like it. I always forget how much longer it takes to reroot those Ever After High doll heads. It's quite the marathon, but after hours of work, I finally have a fully rerooted head, which I secure with liquid fusion glue to ensure it stays put. It's a labor of love, but the results are totally worth it. Next, it was time to dive into the clothing. I stumbled upon these beautiful fabrics with a lemony vibe, and with all the pieces cut, I'm ready to bring this dress together. An off-the-shoulder ruffle highlighted with charming blue accents and flowing peasant sleeves. It's going to be straight out of a lemony summer day. I meticulously line up the bodice seams and pin them together, making sure the right sides are facing. To prevent any fraying, especially with this cotton fabric, I've applied fray check to the edges beforehand. Then it's sewing time. I keep an eye on my seam allowance and try to stay consistent because even a tiny millimeter off can add up fast at doll scale. Now I'm ready to attach the ruffle to the bottom of the skirt. As I line it up, I make sure that the edge of the ruffle hangs over a bit. This way, when I flip it down, it creates a smooth continuous line between the two pieces. Once the ruffle is stitched in place, I break out my seam ripper and remove those unsightly gathering threads. Alright, it's about time to attach the bodice to the skirt. But I had a change of heart. Instead of going with a dropped waist skirt, I'm pulling it up to the natural waistline, slicing out a chunk from the bottom of the bodice before sewing it all together. Then I add a Velcro closure to the back. To whip up the ruffle, I start by sewing a tube from the cream fabric. This fabric is lightweight and has a nice drape, so it's the perfect choice for doll scale details. I weave a piece of thin elastic through the length of the fabric tube and pin it securely against the top edge. I carefully lock it in with stitches, making sure I don't stitch over the elastic to create a snug channel, and secure one end with some stitches to act as an anchor. I grab the free end of the elastic and gently pull, creating this fantastic ruffle effect. It's such a satisfying process to see the fabric transform from a simple tube to a playful bouncy ruffle that adds flair to the doll's outfit. With a bit of magic, I pop this ruffle onto the dress, conquering the much dreaded hand stitching along the way. Then I finish it off with sleeves and other embellishments to give it that perfect finishing touch. I absolutely adore this outfit, it's so cute. It makes me want to create one in my own size. Hats and bags and shoes, oh my! Yep, it's accessory time! Worbla is a dream for crafting, and one of its coolest features, you can heat up the scraps and give them new life. Simply run them through the pasta maker until they're flattened back into sheets. Voila! You've got fresh material to cut out your pattern pieces with, which in this case is a hat. I opted for the brown over the black Worbla this time since my hat will be brown. Less chance of the base color showing through. I heat up my pieces and then gently press the edges together. I have to be careful because the heat makes them super soft and pliable and I don't want to distort them. Once I've nailed down the shape of the hat, I dive into gluing on the hemp cord to give it that woven straw hat vibe. I've always had a soft spot for Strawberry Shortcake dolls from my childhood. Back then, it seemed like every toy had a fun gimmick, but nothing beats the scent of those dolls. It's stuck in my memory forever. What's a fond childhood memory you have involving dolls or toys that still brings a smile to your face? The cord I've used to cover the top of the hat is pretty coarse with stringy fibers, so I whip out a lighter to burn those off. Then, like magic, I adorn it with ribbons, flowers, and charming lemon slices. Now it's perfect for a cozy cottagecore aesthetic. I whip up some fringe for her picnic blanket using cotton yarn, cutting each strand to create a cute look. I plan to sandwich them in between 2 layers of this white knit. I realized a bit late that I should have cut these lengths toward the middle of the square. This way, once flipped, the fringe would fall naturally along the edge, but I only realized my mistake after doing both sides, so I had to do it all over again. But once it was done, the blanket looked absolutely adorable, making the extra effort totally worth it. I thought she needed some lemonade to enjoy on her picnic blanket, so I printed these cute little glasses in clear resin. For the ice cubes, I cut up hot glue sticks into tiny pieces and then cut thin lemon slices from polymer clay beads to fill the glasses. I added a few slices and cubes to the glass, then poured in some yellow resin for the lemonade. It did take some coaxing to get it into the bottom, and once the glasses were filled and cured, I glossed the outside with clear UV resin to make them sparkle. These turned out so adorable, and the hot glue ice cubes worked better than expected. Of course, Lemon Meringue needs her namesake dessert. You've seen me paint before, so let's skip ahead to the fun part, making the meringue topping. I grabbed some drywall compound, a plastic bag, and one of my spare frosting tips, then piped it on just like real frosting. I had dabbled in cake decorating for my daughter's birthdays over the years, so I have a ton of these. It worked like a charm. After all the drywall mudding I've done lately, it was a blast to use it for something way more fun. It's amazing what can be crafting supplies when you get creative. Before the piping and set, I added a few lemon slices for garnish, and once it dried, I added a touch of brown dry brushing for the perfect toasted meringue look. It turned out so cute and realistic, I almost wanted to take a bite. I whipped up a simple lemon slice purse, starting by attaching a zipper to some faux leather panels. On the wrong side of the fabric, I sketched a half moon shape to mark where to stitch the 2 pieces together. After flipping the bag right side out, I added a cute lemon slice zipper pull. Since the lemons are yellow and this bag was white, I gave it a splash of color with acrylic paints. I designed a lemon graphic and cut it out on my Cricut and stuck it onto the front and back. To finish it off, I added a playful string of beads for the strap. The bag turned out so adorable. I love making these fun, functional items for dolls. For her shoes, I painted a pair of my 3D printed flats. I actually sell these on Etsy, so if your dolls need some kicks, be sure to check it out. It's face-up time. I used a mix of watercolor pencils, pastels, gouache, and mica powders for this project. If you're curious about the specific brands, I've got a full list available in the description box. Every face-up starts the same way for me, with a few base layers of Mr. Super Clear to prep the doll's vinyl. I apply 3 layers in total and wait about 30 minutes between each coat before I get started. This ensures I have the perfect canvas to draw on. Once the base layers are set, I dive into sketching her features, carefully sketching out her eyes, ensuring they're symmetrical and full of character. This face repaint was a breath of fresh air, especially after my recent creative struggles. Sometimes I find myself redrawing eyes a million times just to get them right, or erasing eyebrows that refuse to match. And don't get me started on those stubborn, chunky eyelashes. But today, everything flowed smoothly. My art was just arting. This face-up came together effortlessly. I was in the zone. It's projects like this that remind me why I love doll customization so much. It's just a wonderful blend of creativity and patience. Lemon Meringue has had a much paler skin tone in the past, but to me, lemon screams summertime, so I wanted to give her a more sun-kissed look. I chose Briar Beauty as a base specifically because of her warmer skin tone, which fits my vision perfectly. I'm using carefully selected colors to contour her face and enhance that sunny vibe. Now, I'll admit I'm not a big fan of the Ever After High face sculpts. They seem a bit round and flat for my taste. But you know what? They're really starting to grow on me. They seem to be the perfect doll base for this series. She'll of course be keeping her lovely blue eyes, and I try to make them really pop. I'm using various shades of blue to add dimension and give her eyes more depth. For her makeup, I'm keeping it minimal and fresh. I'm going for very neutral tones for her eyeshadow and lip colors. I want her to have that natural, effortless beauty that just glows. Instead of dramatic makeup, I'm focusing on subtle shades that highlight her features without overpowering her look. It's all about that radiant, sun-kissed vibe that makes you think of lazy summer days and lemonade in the shade. I wanted to take a quick moment to express my heartfelt thanks to all my wonderful supporters on Patreon. Their support means the world to me. Angel Book Walter, Awkward Burb, B. Burnett, Deborah Sweeney, Jay Zur, Lurker Cat, Stephanie L., Josephine, Delicious, Bex Mini Studio, Dancing Johari, Echo 1911, Kitsy, K. Whippel, Lindsay, The Oak Magpie, and Tara N. I'm thrilled to report that my brush troubles seem to be a thing of the past. Fingers crossed. I took matters into my own hands quite literally. I trimmed away some of the bristles to get a finer tip and gave them a good cleaning, and voila! I would say good as new, but now they're better than new. This time around, I managed to paint beautifully fine eyelashes on the first try. It feels like a small victory after at least 5 dolls of struggling with this. Here's hoping this newfound brush magic sticks around for good. No face-up is truly complete without a sprinkle of shimmery mica powder. With the final touch, her face-up is done, and I couldn't be happier. For her hairstyle, we're going with a summer classic, Beachy Waves. I've been hoarding Chick-fil-A straws for a few weeks just for this, using clips and bobby pins to keep everything in place. I found that wetting the hair made it easier to manage. After a bit of work and a trip to the store for more straws and bobby pins, I ended up with this salon spectacle. I set the curls with hot water and let them dry overnight. The next day, I pulled out the makeshift curlers and started taming her hair. Of course, I made the classic curly hair mistake of brushing through the curls, turning them into this wild mess. So I had to retame and coax those curls to clump together just right. I thought my comb was wide-toothed enough, but I should have stuck with finger combing. Lesson learned. But the final look was totally worth it. Finally, everything's done, and now it's time to put it all together for the big reveal. She turned out adorable and fits right in with Strawberry. I'm already dreaming up ideas for redesigning Orange Blossom, but I have another project in the works before diving into that. Revisiting these childhood classics has been a blast, and I'm loving the cottagecore vibes I'm infused into this one. It's been such a joy to work with this charming style. Lemon Meringue is now up for grabs on my Etsy shop, so if you're keen on adding her to your collection, swing by. I've also got a few other cool creations and some 3D printed shoes. Now tell me, what's your favorite part of my Lemon Meringue redesign? Drop me a comment below. Thank you all for sticking around to the end of this makeover journey, and remember, always be creating!